Clothing. Again, with a lot of those things, there's not really any set boundary when people, a spirit is attached to these items. Ritual items I look at differently. That energy is sent towards ritual items deliberately, and that's bound to those items. So that I look at a little bit differently than I will your jewelry or clothing or toys or dolls or things like that. Yeah?
What's the largest item that's ever come in your possession?
The largest item is a cabinet. This is so cool. This cabinet is made out of I'd say 4 or 5 different elements. And what I had found out, that people had purchased it and they had a wicked haunting that broke out and they started having a lot of problems with it. And we found out that pieces were made from a mansion, a castle, and a church, and a couple of other things that they made this big, huge cabinet out of. Chris is familiar with it. He helped me move it into the museum. And they had a mirror that came from an estate sale that they put in. They found out that was haunted. So it's probably the biggest piece I have that is in the museum now. Anybody else? Yeah? She's asking, are they just human hauntings or demonic hauntings? Actually, both. A lot of the ritual items that I deal with. You have to remember, when you deal with a lot of this, especially on the negative end, there's a lot of daggers and swords and statues and different elements that actually tie in. So I deal with both quite often. When he was born, I had to go investigate him. That's what I was doing.
It begins.
No, when I was 16 years old, I had an experience, and that's actually November 10th will mark the 38th year for that. But I had a sighting of my grandfather, and it was transparent. It was standing at the foot of my bed, and I grew up in the 70s. I was a flower child. I wasn't interested in that type of spirit, okay? But anyhow, had the experience. And a few days afterwards, my grandmother passed away. She lived with us. But that's what sent me getting involved with a lot of this, because then I just started thinking about it and reading about it and studying about it, and it just kept getting crazier and crazier with trying to figure a lot of these things out. Even though I grew up in a paranormal field, I had in Lorraine Warren with my aunt and uncle, and I still remember that because I was telling my uncle about it, and he goes, "You didn't believe me?" I go, "No, that was a quick way to make a buck, that's all. I didn't believe all the stories. I never had an experience, so." But that's what did it, and it's what sent me down that road with getting involved with so many aspects of this field. Hey, bud.
Have you ever had any items that are in your museum that you removed and people actually wanted it back, and then once you gave it back, the activity started again?
Yes. Actually, Brian can even talk a little bit about this one. We worked on an investigation last year, phenomenology, about the doll case. This woman had 140 dolls, all right? And she had all kinds of activity going on, blah, 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 blah. So, and she just kept driving me crazy. Please come get them, please come get them. Then I get on the phone with her father. He goes, "Please get them out of the house." So we removed 70 of the 40. She kept, part of them, and she didn't tell anybody she did that, and the activity escalated. But anyways, make a long story short, we had 70 of them in the museum, and she wanted her dolls back, so I sent them all back to her. That's fine, if somebody wants their things back, I don't care. And all the activity kicked up really bad after that. And to this point now, I know it reached a point with the parents where either she moved out or she got rid of her dolls, because they had too much stuff going on in the house. So I don't know where it actually got left off. But there are those situations, because you got to remember too, if you deal with a family heirloom or something, you know what I mean? Again, I can understand that. You remove it, and if the activity stops, or we can do something to break the energy, depending on what it is, and a family would like something back, I have no problems with that. None.